Right, I think it's about time to start the call, the meeting. I'm Gary Leavesley. I'm the chairman of the British Bulgaria Business Association, who are facilitating this presentation by Tanya Koicheva. First, I'd like to give you all a very warm welcome. We had 45 members registered for the event, and at the moment we have about 60% of that number on the call. I suspect a few more will be joining, but we won't wait. I think the 45 people registered is a good indication of the interest in the subject matter. And the timing is also quite fortuitous in that last night the British Prime Minister announced it's time to get the UK economy moving again. And while there's more questions than answers, what that exactly means, I think it's a good signal that it's a tentative step in trying to get things back to the new normal, whatever the new normal looks like. Before Tanya starts her presentation, I'd like to do two things. First is just to briefly explain the rules, the House rules for this call. And the second is just to give a little bit of background about Tanya herself. So the first is the House rules. So the chat is disabled for the attendees. Obviously, we're trying to make the call as efficient as possible. You can use the Q&A panel to raise questions. You can see it highlighted on the slide there. In some cases, we may have to take, there might be more questions than we have time, and we'll take them away to be answered later. The webinar will be recorded, and so you can play it back at your leisure. There were 4 questions that were submitted ahead of time to Tanya by email, and Tanya's endeavoured to answer those questions within the presentation. If they're not covered, obviously, or not covered correctly, then they can be asked again, but those ones have been noted and hopefully will be taken care of. So, Tanya herself. Tanya currently has the role of the head of the Economic and Commercial section at the Bulgarian Embassy in London. She's got over 25 years of experience in international economics and development. Tanya was actually the UK Trade and Investment Director at the British Embassy in Sofia for a number of years. She actually created a big business training management at the embassy called FLAG, which was the first trade promotion centre in Bulgaria. She also championed the delivery of the first leadership development programme at the British Embassy in Sofia. She's an MBA graduate from the University of National and World Economy in Sofia, and also has a degree from the Open University in the UK. She's a member of the British Institute of Export, and her accomplishments have been recognised with awards for excellence by the UK Trade and Investment Agency and by the Bulgarian Chamber of Commerce. Tanya has lived in the UK with her husband and 2 children for about 10 years now. So obviously she knows the market very well and the business culture very well. Tanya and the BBBA have a great working relationship. And in 2019, Tanya was an in-person speaker at our Go Global event. And in an anonymous survey after the event, Tanya was voted the most appreciated speaker for the whole conference, and I think we had at least 10 speakers. So you went down very well, Tanya.
Thank you, Gary.
She also hosted cocktail events at the Bulgarian Embassy in London for our members who went on the 2 roadshows. I think one was in 2018 and one in 2019. Each event had about 120 attendees. So obviously they were all from the British business and commercial and diplomatic communities. And finally, I'll embarrass you one more time, Tanya. In 2018, Tanya was voted by the Bulgarian Ministry of Economy as the best Bulgarian commercial officer in the world. So, so well done, and everyone looks forward to hearing what you've got to say in these interesting times. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Gary. That was a very emotional introduction for me and much appreciated. Good afternoon to all my friends in Bulgaria, to all the BBVA members and all colleagues that we have shared so many fruitful years of promoting Bulgarian-UK economic and business relations. I am an optimist that we can continue to do so, regardless of the turbulent times that we are experiencing. Without very much ado, I will very briefly go over the contents of my presentation today. Obviously, the hot subject, where is the British economy going in the current circumstances and how we can benefit from that. Before we get into the details, a very brief snapshot of where Bulgaria-UK business relations stood just before the crisis. I'm really proud, and I hope I will deserve my honors that have been granted to me by saying that the UK, for the first time in the past 10 years, is #1 investor in Bulgaria in 2019, with an amount of 304 million euro, which is twice as much as Germany. Netherlands is a more specific case, and somehow we don't compete against them. At the same time, exports did grow up, although with a much more modest percentage. The export surplus is still there and has been for the past 10 years, which is a good indication of the level of interest toward Bulgarian products in the UK. And tourism has grown by 20%. This is a growth rate that is typical for the past 3 years, which again shows the level of interest by British tourists, by British citizens and businesses toward Bulgaria, and hopefully that will generate even more trade and investment in the long run. Where does the UK economy stand as of today? I should continue this presentation with a caveat that the figures that you'll see today, most of them are official figures. Some of them are hunches and gut feelings on my behalf, so don't hold me against that. This is the best we can do at the time being. The Bank of England last week came up with its figures for the second quarter of 2020, which are obviously very disturbing, but not untypical for the Western economies or most economies globally these days. The expected plunge is 25% drop of the gross domestic product in the UK in the second quarter, and a very sharp rise in unemployment. Obviously, that has to do with the ceasing of economic activity as of March 24th in the UK. Businesses, production sites, construction sites, service deliveries, everything stood to a still to a great extent. The only positive news in this gloomy picture is inflation is being kept very, very low. And it is currently not posing any threats to the UK macroeconomic situation. The way forward, various experts have various predictions. Bank of England is the most optimistic one, that in 2021, the economy will get back to normal. So the expected downsize of 14% in total in 2020 will be recovered almost without any losses in 2021. For me, the most disconcerting figure in this prognosis is the drop in business investment. Currently, the drop for the second quarter of 2020 is predicted to be 50%, 30% drop in household consumption, and 45% drop in retail and wholesale. Obviously, all of this will have a negative impact on any products and services coming from Bulgaria. And the most disconcerting element of this equation for me is the psychological damage and the aversion against taking risk. You are aware that the United Kingdom is the hardest hit by the coronavirus epidemic currently in the world, following only the USA. So I would say these are my personal observations. There is a lot of psychological conservatism and concern amongst the population and the businesses, how things will move forward, when things move forward. So I'm expecting quite a dramatic plunge in investment, both domestically and internationally. The COVID impact has had some experts compare it to the crisis in 2008, the financial crisis in 2008. However, others and analyzers claim that this is the worst economic crisis in the United Kingdom in the past 300 years. The benefit of the UK banking stability has come into play this time, and although you will see that many sectors will take huge blows as a result of the economic standstill, there is the Bank of England is still very optimistic that the banks and the financial sector can wither this blow, because their assets and their banking activities are 3 times in a better shape than they used to be in 2008. So the banking liquidity would sustain a longer and extended economic downturn. The sectors and the industries that are worst hit are obviously the accommodation and food services, the retail, the construction was hit very badly, and not unexpectedly the education sector. You know that all universities in the UK are closed and have been closed for about 2 months. All the service delivery is currently happening online, but this is having also a psychological impact on any future students that are planning to come to the UK or move internationally, globally. The UK government has taken very quick and very effective measures to negate the economic downturn. You may be aware that UK employees have been granted 80% of their salaries during the pandemic period, which is quite a substantial amount to be allocated as a grant, and currently about 1/4 of the UK workforce is taking advantage of this grant. Also, the Treasury, the Minister of Finance, Rishi Sunak, have been very instrumental in allocating loans to small businesses, to large businesses. The Bank of England has dropped its interest rate to the lowest possible level in the 500 years, 0.1%. So we are fairly optimistic that all the measures that have been taken and a quick recovery of consumption after the lockdown is over will be instrumental in returning the UK economy back to its normal levels. And let's see how this is going to affect our businesses that are dealing with the UK. Before I move to that, I'd like to very briefly mention Brexit. Since the pandemic has stormed the UK, very few analyzers dare to include Brexit in their expectations about how the economy will grow or will plunge even further. Currently, the negotiations between the EU and the UK are ongoing, not at the pace that we all expect they would go, but still, the dialogue is open. In a case of no deal scenario, Brexit with a no deal scenario, these would be the areas which will be largely impacted by the imposition of tariffs and quotas. You see a large number of them fall into the food and drink category, but also textiles, automotive vehicles, fertilizers, and some other products will be protected by an imposition of quotas and tariffs, which will have a negative impact on a few groups of products that Bulgaria is currently importing into the UK. Let's see how this is going to play. Currently, all the economic factors show that a few industries will benefit greatly from the crisis, and the table is led by groceries and medicinal and pharmaceutical products. In the UK, not only because of the crisis, but also because of the closure of food and drink outlets, there has been a huge increase in demand in purchasing and buying groceries through supermarkets and other online outlets that are currently operational. Medicinal products, obviously, this is the area which has kept very busy in the past 2 months. Initially, the outflow of products was from Bulgaria, from the UK into Bulgaria. Currently, Bulgaria is making a few good propositions to UK buyers, and they are, I'm very pleased to say that they are taking it, of personal protection equipment in particular. People have been locked at home and gardening demand has increased. People felt that it's time to make those improvements that have been stalled and delayed over the past couple of months. And online sales of home and garden equipment have increased tremendously. The ICT is a sector that will be kept busy currently and in the future. A lot of services and products are transferring into online delivery and sale, including general practitioners' appointments. The NHS has done a tremendous effort to migrate a lot of services online, and obviously other service providers and wholesalers and retailers. An interesting fact, during the crisis, cybersecurity has plummeted due to a lot of officers and service people working from home, which is not always the safest area of operation, and therefore cybercrime is a current threat, which Bulgarian companies can take advantage of, those that provide those type of services to neutralize the current threat. I got reports from Bulgarians wine and alcohol importers into the UK. They're very pleased with the crisis. Their business is really hitting the roof, through the roof. The demand has been exponential, which obviously the reason for that is the closure of pubs, bars, and other social facilities in the UK. And an observation that I have come across in the past couple of years, the demand of living healthy, uh, improving one's immunity system, improving longevity of life is exhibiting quite consistently in terms of retail demand. And currently and in the near future, definitely there will be an increased need for sports equipment, organic food products, and food supplements. Bulgaria is currently a large exporter of bikes into the UK. I expect this trend will continue. The areas that were affected the most is obviously services, complete standstill. Financial services, banks have reported 50% loss of revenue in the past quarter. The automotive industry completely blown away, almost 100% drop in purchasing new vehicles in April. The construction industry wasn't doing so greatly even before the pandemic. Now it is even worse. Textiles, clothing, shoes, people have almost stopped buying those, as well as cosmetics. Furniture and furniture deliveries, these have ceased because there was a freeze imposed on real estate deals, and it is still ongoing. The expectation of loss in the education sector amounts to £6 billion this year, mostly due to the fact that international students may not be returning to the UK in the amounts that they used to in the past. However, the embassy is still continuing to do business. There was a question of how we can support Bulgarian companies wanting to deal with the UK. Almost all our channels and outlets of promoting and raising Bulgaria's profile are still open, apart from obviously trade exhibitions, which all of those are impossible to attend these days. However, the majority of them are offering online opportunities for exhibitors and for countries to promote themselves. So I'm taking every opportunity that comes along. I still continue to collect and analyze and process market intelligence based on companies' inquiries to identify business-to-business partners or end consumer products. I still continue to provide introductions and references to companies that are dealing with the UK or trying to set up a new customer base. I'm involved in networking through various chambers and trade associations, so still supporting trade negotiations. I would say for us, it's business as usual. This slide is in response to a question about how Bulgarian companies or companies operating in Bulgaria can raise their profile in dealing with UK public procurement bodies or business partners for that matter. I have seen an increase in demand for references and positive customer overviews. So this is one channel through which people can flag up their strengths to their current and future customers. Social media obviously have become even more powerful, and LinkedIn engagements have grown exponentially, as well as Twitter. I think this has been mentioned in the past that Twitter is a very powerful social outlet. In the UK, I would advise any company that would like to raise their profile to engage via Twitter in the UK. Traditional media obviously still a communication outlet that needs to be exploited to its maximum. Various industries and the industry bodies have become very active and very open to newcomers in their online activities, which are replacing obviously the traditional industrial and trade bodies get together. So I would suggest that unless you are a member of such a body, to become one very quickly and take advantage of those opportunities. And this is something that I have come across personally that works very, very effectively is free trials and donations. Especially this is true in the healthcare sector right now. UK and Bulgarian bodies are welcoming wholeheartedly any opportunity for providers to approach them and provide them with free trials of new products. And this is a way into the system that has maybe not been so effective and open in the past. Industry awards, this is still ongoing in the UK. All the industry bodies that I'm a member of, they continue to proactively engage with their members and announce participation and opportunities for sponsorship at sector award ceremonies. So I would suggest that this would be an area where Bulgarian partners would engage with their British counterparts very, very efficiently. As mentioned, the embassy is still open for business. I almost could not believe that the majority of these events happened only 2 months ago, but I remain optimistic and I believe that in early fall, we would be able to resume our regular program of activities, of events, of industry-focused receptions. Until then, we remain at your disposal to provide as much advice, support, and opportunities for you to engage with the United Kingdom. These are the questions that have been posed to me prior to this seminar. I think I have covered the majority of them in my presentation. But of course, if this is not the case, I believe my time is up anyway, so I'm intending to finish my formal presentation here. And I would like to open the floor for questions and answers. And I believe I see a few questions in my question area. If you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to read one of them. Do we have a chance to connect with partners in the UK interested in the Industry 4.0? I would say very much so. This is the short answer. And the long answer was the UK is open for business for any interested company, and I'll be happy to support any endeavor on your behalf to engage with the UK. I'll give you a chance maybe to think a few more questions, but I don't see any more coming up. Maybe I should conclude by saying that the crisis is a serious challenge for the United Kingdom, for Bulgaria as well. But business has been done before, and business will be done after the crisis. So definitely there will be winners. Definitely there will be areas which will lose as a result of the crisis. Maybe some industrial sectors will never be able to survive the crisis, but I'm remaining optimistic by the level of inquiries that I'm still receiving from UK partners and companies. And I strongly believe that we should be back to business very, very soon. Prospects of visiting the UK on business trips. This is a question that I have just received in my Q&A window. There is an expectation that the United Kingdom will introduce quarantine for international arrivals. The expectation is that this will come into play at the beginning of June. However, it is my understanding that the UK Aviation Association is working very hardly to try to negate the impact of this kind of introduction. Whether they will be successful or not, we shall see. In the meantime, there is, you know that there is no restriction of flights between Bulgaria and the UK. Bulgarians and British citizens are still flying in and out. Another question from the participants. Do you think that services for business software could be interesting for the UK business from Bulgaria? What is our reputation nowadays? I would say that Bulgaria's reputation as a software provider is extremely strong. And the proof is the 304 million euro invested in Bulgaria last year. The bulk of them, I would say over 80%, comes from the ICT sector. So if at any point Bulgaria's reputation in the UK as far as ICT has been strongest, it is now. Another question from our participants. Do you think that the V-shaped recovery will happen so quickly? What is the business sentiment you're observing in that respect? I personally believe that the recovery will happen. It will be a V-shaped recovery. I believe the Bank of England is slightly optimistic about its timing, but there are a few elements in this equation that are still not clear, and I mentioned one of them, the psychological impact of the crisis. How prepared will be consumers to buy, to travel, to go out and have a drink after the crisis is something that we are still to see how will play here in the UK, given that the UK is the hardest hit country in the world after the United States. However, life goes on, and I'm sure consumers will pretty quickly aim to get back to their usual habits. One more question from our participants. ICT and related services are benefiting from the crisis due to the swift migration for digital channels. What is Bulgaria doing to better position the ICT and services companies to support the very significant demand from the UK public sector? What is number one tip for us to improve our collective profile? Well, the answer to this question is very simple: engage. We do our best to be engaged with the decision makers, buyers, lobbyists, industry shapers from our end, and I would say we achieve that. And I would say the same on behalf of businesses. Engage through every possible channel. I do a range of activities from cold calling and emailing, which is usually the first one to start with, to companies that have been profiled to have a chance of taking advantage of the services provided by Bulgaria. I take part in every industry event that is open for promoters like myself to engage with. I tweet, I publish stuff on LinkedIn. We use the embassy website for promotion. BBBA is an excellent avenue for members to do that, and you know there is a range of activities coming along. So engage, and I would say now is the time to improve the social impact. Every company is delivering to their communities. My impression is that British buyers, British customers, British partners are starting to notice and to be a lot more aware about social engagement of businesses than they used to be. And yeah, I see that maybe Ellie wants to join in answering this question.
Tanya, this is Gary Leavesley again. While we're waiting for some more written questions, if there are any, maybe I could ask you a question.
Sure.
It's said a lot that through a crisis, opportunities can be created. What, in your opinion, would be the #1 opportunity for Bulgarian companies wanting to sell products and services to the UK, and vice versa for UK companies wanting to sell products and services to Bulgaria? Is there anything in this crisis that you see as opening up a positive opportunity? Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for your question. Definitely, this is the medical and pharma products. #1, I have spent the last 3 months selling and buying pharmaceutical and medicinal products, equipment, you name it, anything that can support the NHS, anything that can support the Bulgarian Zdravna Kasa. These are products that have occupied the majority of my wake time because the transfer of goods, commodities sometimes engages other time zones and other nations apart from Bulgaria and the UK. I have no doubt that this is a trend that will be sustainable for the next 9 to 12 months. I have no doubt. People will be a lot more aware. People will be stockpiling. Businesses, companies, the health services. Bulgaria has been very, very quick in initiating and starting its own production. I'm sure you know that from Bulgarian media, but those products are already crossing the UK border, and not only the UK border, all my colleagues across the globe work tirelessly to supply the ever-increasing demand. So I would say this would be the industry that is going to benefit the most from the crisis. The other industry I would say is food, drink, and agricultural products coming from Bulgaria. I had an avalanche of inquiries of UK buyers, especially commodity products like wheat, like barley, corn. There is huge demand in the UK. Obviously, the international supply chains have been disrupted, and the UK is looking to purchase those commodities as quickly and effectively as possible. The largest loser, the automotive industry. Bulgaria is connected to the UK automotive industry. Bulgaria supplies batteries, automotive seats, and some other elements into the UK industry. I'll be very, very concerned about those producers right now. I don't see any more questions in my little window here.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya, for your answers to all the questions and to my verbal question. If anybody has any final questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, we'll bring the call. I'll give it 2 minutes to ask any final questions online, and then we'll draw to a call. So while people are thinking of the questions to submit, one of our members, Plamena, who's actually our BBBA ambassador based in Rusa, I'm sure will be very happy with your comment that agricultural products are in big demand in the UK from Bulgaria. So Plamena is probably one of the members currently smiling very much with hopefully an increase in that market.
Yes, I can see a comment from her in my panel, which is yes with an exclamation mark. But I genuinely believe that all BBBA members will benefit from the crisis. Some maybe sooner, others maybe later, and inquiries are coming from all areas across board. It is very difficult to say which industry in the UK will not be looking to do international business anymore. I'm slightly cautious about claiming that industries in the UK and companies will be looking to bring their supplier base closer to home. I think this is we're still about to see about that. Although there have been some calls, even some political calls by other countries to extract some productions from certain countries and move them to other countries. I'm still to see the evidence of that happening here. But I believe that the current levels of business between Bulgaria and the UK are sustainable in the medium term, and there is good prospects for long-term improvement.
Great, thanks, Tanya. Well, there's no more questions coming up, so I believe you must have satisfied everybody's curiosity, and it's probably prudent now to bring the call to an end. I'd like to thank you personally, Tanya, for your time and your dedication, and also your great support for our organisation. And we look forward for your continued support, and hopefully we can get back to some face-to-face, real person meetings sometimes later in the year. But until now, we'll continue doing as many webinars as possible. I'd like to thank everybody who joined the call. It's our members that make these things productive. And as always, if you have any comments on how to improve calls like this, or just BBBA activities in general, please follow up with Desi and the BBBA management. We're always willing to listen. We have a BBBA board meeting tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be going over this call. There's a number of board members on this call. So we're always trying to improve. So thank you, everybody, Tanya, BBBA staff and BBBA members. And I hope to speak to you all again soon in the near future.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you for hosting. Thank you to BBBA for the great cooperation that I'm enjoying. Everyone stay safe, and hopefully we'll have a drink face-to-face very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.